Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we have an interesting story about Rings of Power and viewership numbers for this show. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Now I want to start off with this tweet by Samba. And it says, we looked at some of the top streaming shows on streamers including Netflix, Hulu, and Disney Plus last quarter. And we found that 2 weeks after release, all but one had driven more than 70% of their cumulative 50-day viewership. So what does this mean? It means that within 2 weeks of the debut of a show, most people have watched that show. About 3/4 of people, generally speaking, 75% of people who are going to watch the show will have watched it by then. And so, this is represented by this red bar here, 72%, 79%, 80%. So you can see it's actually higher. It's as high as 80% for some of these streamers and as low as 72%. So 75 is about an average number. What can this tell us about the Rings of Power? Well, let's look at House of the Dragon first. Here they have this tweet by Samba. Demand for Game of Thrones content drove more than half of all viewers to watch House of the Dragon premiere within the first 6 hours. Buzz from the premiere helped boost overall viewership to 4.8 million households in the first few days. Now, these are just Samba households. These are just households that have TVs that have Samba so that they can be counted. So we can't really use this as an absolute number. This isn't the total number of people that watched it. This is just the number of people that happen to have Samba on their TV that Samba could track. And this means that we can use this to compare like how many people watch House of the Dragons versus how many people watched Rings of Power. But we can't say, okay, well, this is the absolute number of people that watch this program. But relatively speaking, we're getting a number of 4.8 million for House of the Dragon. Let's look at Rings of Power. 1.8 million US households watched the debut episode of Rings of Power during its first 4 days available to stream. Now, this is compared to the 4.8 million that tuned in for House of the Dragon, which means that House of the Dragon had a much bigger viewership from the beginning. This is a little confusing, though, when I start to see things like this, which was the Rings of Power premiere draws 25 million global viewers. So now let's look at House of the Dragon and how many watched episode 1 of House of the Dragon. And this is a closer look at how popular House of the Dragon is right now by the numbers. Okay, well, this is interesting. More than 20 million viewers across linear TV, on-demand, HBO Max platforms in the US watched the premiere based on a combination of Nielsen and first-party data. That's US only. That's not the worldwide number. So this 25 million is the worldwide number, and this 20 million is the US number for House of the Dragons. And keep in mind that it pulled in about 3 times the viewership then globally compared to Rings of Power. So this means that this number, the worldwide number, could actually be much, much larger. Now, in addition, we have other things like this. House of the Dragon premiere breaks Sky viewership record in the UK. We see that the series premiere titled Heirs of the Dragon was watched by over 4 million people, which makes that show as popular in the UK as Stranger Things. And we have this article from Screen Rant. So just putting everything together. So here we are, we're into week 3, episode 3 now, at least, of House of the Dragon. And we see that episode 3 viewership actually dropped, though, by over 28%, but that's on cable. But what's interesting then about this is this right here, and that is that House of the Dragon week 3 ratings were on pace with about 16 million plus viewers. Again, I think that's US viewers, and Deadline learned that viewing of episode 3 was actually up 27% on HBO Max compared to episode 2 from a week earlier. So it looks like people are choosing to watch it whenever it's convenient for them and stream it on HBO Max versus waiting for the normal debut time that it comes in on cable, because they're finding it more convenient to do that. Is why the whole business model exists. So this tells me, this 16 million plus viewers, that the demand for House of the Dragons in episode 3 is actually still quite strong. And I just wonder how that's going to play out. But let's go and look at some more things, some more information from Amazon and Amazon Prime. Now this is Rings of Power. Remember, Amazon let us know that they were going to put an embargo on reviews of this. We're not going to have any reviews of Rings of Power on Amazon on their own platform. They're not showing any, and they were going to hold this for 3 days. Well, this debuted on September 2nd. It is now September 8th. It has been 6 days, and guess how many reviews we can see? None. Still none. They are afraid to post reviews. Now, maybe they don't have the ability to just post the reviews they want to on this platform, but they know how to do that on IMDb, which is why they are showing some user reviews on IMDb, but only select ones. But first, let's look at this score on IMDb, and that is Rings of Power weighted average is 6.7. But let's look at the overall average. The overall average, the non-manipulated number, is only a 6.2. That's still a significant difference between those two numbers, which means IMDb is doing the hinky stuff to promote this and bump this score up, even though a much larger number of people are already coming in with 10-star ratings. They're bumping this up even more, even though up to half of all people who are reviewing this thing are giving it a 10, 9, or 8. They're choosing to pump this number up even more, trying to get it higher, trying to get it to that 6.7, where it's really a 6.2. And you say, well, what does this really matter? Well, let's compare this to House of the Dragon. Now, House of the Dragon has a 8.8 on this user review rating. But what is the actual average? An 8.7. That means they're not having to manipulate these numbers. The weighted average is the average. They're basically the same, which means that is the actual rating. The actual rating for this is somewhere between an 8.7 to an 8.8. Whereas with Rings of Power, they're having to artificially inflate it. Rings of Power coming in at a 6.2, whereas House of the Dragon is essentially coming in at an 8.8. That is a huge difference, 2.5 points difference. So we can see there is a significant difference between not only viewership of these shows, but the user ratings for these shows. And it also shows when we go to look at the user reviews. And that is because we cannot see anything lower than a 6 on this. So if I go and I put these in reverse order, they're only showing me positive reviews. Still, this is almost a week after the debut, and they still won't show any of the negative reviews. They're still hiding all of these reviews because they don't want you to read them. That's fishy. That's really fishy indeed. Compare that to House of the Dragon, where you can go and see all of the user reviews. And I could sort, so I can see all of the 1s, I can see all of the 2s, I can scroll through all of this and see all of the lower rankings and read them and see why people really didn't like this show. But apparently, Amazon has no faith in their own show because they won't even show the negative reviews of their own show. What a bunch of chickens. That is what they are. There is a lot of chicken going on over at Amazon right now. But let me know what you think in the comments below. I think they are just freaking out and they are scared to show what is actually happening because they are getting pantsed over at Amazon over Rings of Power. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. In the meantime, if you want to continue to help support this channel and you want to help continue to smash the narrative, then you should smash the like, subscribe, and share buttons. Please do help. We are currently being shadow banned by YouTube, and I haven't figured out why yet. Apparently, they just don't want the truth out there. Anyways, I will see you in the next video. Have a great day.